there were literally a couple of months where I think we sold 0 bottles. 0. April, 0 bottles. I'm like, what? Yeah, we're screwed. We're gonna go bankrupt.
Yeah.
That's it. And then I get a phone call. Hey, so I work with Pitbull. He loves your brand, Candela. He thinks it's great. Are you willing to come and meet him on his yacht? And I'm like, ha ha ha. Like, I wonder, probably like one of my friends, like they're fucking around with me. Like a prank call. Yeah. That's what I thought. And I pull up to the Marina. And I'm like, it's gonna be the luckiest day of my life, or I'm gonna be a total sucker for buying this prank. So I go to the Marina and I'm like, hi, I'm here for Pitbull's yacht. And they're like, brr, the door buzzes and they open the door to the Marina. I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, Mr. 305 is right in front of me. And he's like, hey, nice to meet you, man. I love your stuff. And we're like doing shots of Candela. Then he sits down, he puts up his sleeves, opens up his notebook, and is like, all right, Capo, I love what you're doing. How can I help you? And I'm like, what? I'm like pinching myself. Like, what the fuck is going on?
What's happening? Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the World podcast. I'm your host, Andres Sanchez, and today I have Alejandro Russo, the founder of Candela Mamajuana. This is going to be a really exciting conversation. Not only did I get the chance to spend some time with Alejandro before, which isn't usually the case for these interviews, but it's a liquor company. We have had no liquor companies come on or spirit companies come on the show. Like you've seen with my episode with Nick from El Mago Cigars, we're going to be drinking on this episode. I don't usually drink, but special occasions call for special cocktails, which is exciting. But dude, thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here, and you can't do this virtually. You gotta have the juice in your hand.
No. We gotta have the juice. And like, let's just start off. First, let's show the camera the new bottle. This is the new bottle that just came out. I had a pleasure of trying the other one that sold out everywhere, so it's doing really well. But I think this new bottle is beautiful, and I'm really excited to have some.
You were the first person outside the company to see this.
Oh, hey, there we go. See, those are the perks to being a host of a podcast. Sometimes you make some cool friends. And I know you probably can't see it either, but these glasses have flames coming up the side. And for anybody that doesn't speak Spanish, candela means fire.
Hey, that's right.
Hey. All right.
Cheers.
I would have my original Candela bottle, but I finished it about a week after you gave it to me.
I was gonna tell you, you gotta save that one because it's gonna go up in value because it's discontinued.
Yeah, it's probably still at my parents' house. All right, yeah. I'll start reselling all the Candela bottles that you gave to my buddies.
I'm gonna go online and see on eBay. All of a sudden, all these Candela bottles pop out of Miami.
Oh my God. Well, I want to start like right off the bat. Before we talk about your journey and everything, explain to the people what Mamajuana is, because I'm sure there are some people that are listening and are just wondering what the hell type of liquor that is.
That was me. I'm not Dominican.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
So Mamajuana, I consider the Dominican legend. That's
okay.
what it is. It's a botanical rum. So it's Dominican rum, but it's infused with a mix of botanicals that makes it unique, makes it special. Gives it a very distinct flavor, and it's a product that has 200 years of history, if not a little more actually, but it's a product that I consider the soul of the Dominican Republic, and we're the first premium brand to come around and make this.
And what makes it different? Because people think of rum, like Dominican rum and regular just rum category, people immediately think to the Dominican Republic. What makes Mamajuana different than that?
It's kind of the way that I see it. It's like, I don't know if you like gin. I love drinking gin.
I ruined gin in high school for myself, unfortunately.
And I know why, because you were probably drinking brands that weren't, Yeah,
like Bombay and lemonade. I thought I was Wiz Khalifa in high school. Yeah.
Gin and juice.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was growing up, all like our grandparents and like your uncles and aunts, they would probably drink, Bombay or Beefeater or Tanqueray, which they're great gins, don't get me wrong. But then there was another line of gins that came out when we were a little bit older, which was Hendrix, The Botanist, Monkey 47, and all these gins that were way more botanical. Candela is like that for rum. You know, most people are used to drinking traditional rum, whether it's aged or white. And again, there are a lot of great brands. Even Dominican rums, those are my favorites. I love Brugal, I love Barceló. Those are fantastic rums, but Candela just adds a layer of botanicals that the other brands don't have, and we're doing it with a traditional recipe that's been around for hundreds of years. And I kind of like was the first to undust it and bring it to the masses in a premium way. That was our big innovation, because millions of people were drinking Mamajuana style rum before Candela came around. Millions of people every year. Millions of Americans every year that were going on vacation to the DR. But I guess it was like, if you go back like 20 years to Mexico and you want to have Mezcal, you're probably going to see some shady looking bottles, right? Kind of like bootleg, you know, moonshiny. Some of them were bottled in clay little carafes. Some had, you know, a worm or two. Some had a scorpion inside. They were weird, you know. They weren't something you would find on the shelf at Total Wine.
Yeah.
And then came a great echelon of premium brands that premiumized the category of mezcal. And now it's everywhere, you know. Now it's one of the fastest growing things in liquor. And Mamajuana was exactly at that point when I came across my first bottle of Candela. It was like this weird, very like obscure drink that everybody was drinking, but you couldn't buy it off the shelf. There weren't any brands. So I saw it and I'm like, wow, this is just like mezcal when it was starting to be popular. So I said, you know what? If somebody creates this in a way that can be sold, you know, in mass distribution channels, like, they're gonna be a millionaire.
Yeah.
that was my thinking. Like, it was probably like a drunken epiphany. You know, I was like sitting in a resort in Punta Cana thinking about like different business ideas, and I said, yeah, the person that brings Mamajuana and makes it available to everybody else is gonna make a killing. I said, you know what? Why don't you just do it?
Yeah, why not
why
just
not you? So that was how it started.
That's awesome. One thing that, and I'm a complete novice when it comes to liquor. When you say botanical, like, what does that actually mean for the person listening that's like, well, I still don't know why it's different than the regular one, or why Tanqueray versus Monkey 47?
Yeah.
Nice. Monkey 47, like, what makes it a bit more botanical?
Well, in the case of Mamajuana, there's like a list of core botanicals and ingredients that need to be there, but there's no standardized recipe. Anybody can make their own. And it took me, you know, a couple of years with our master distiller and just testing it on hundreds of different people, and until we figured out a recipe that tasted completely authentic, that was really respectful to the authentic Mamajuana recipe that's traditionally been consumed for hundreds of years. But then it also had to have a very premium feel, a very premium rum feel to it. And it took us a couple of years, but then we hit the sweet spot. And then that's when we started having people that we would do tastings, and they would drink this, you know, on a Saturday morning in Miami. Room temperature bottle of rum that you just opened. Most people don't love, you know, they don't like that stuff. But they would try it and they would say, wow, like, this tastes really good. I'm surprised. I'm not a rum drinker, but this is the best rum that I've ever had. And we started getting all these people that would react like that. And that's when we knew that we had a recipe that we hit it. There was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And we have a great team behind us.
We had this similar experience when you brought it, when we played poker that night. You brought it over, and everybody at that table is a tequila person. Nobody at that table is like, other than one of my friends, Nick, is like ever voluntarily drinking alcohol straight, no mixer. And then I think we drank a whole bottle that night, like, just passing it around. like
I think
this.
we even forgot to play poker.
Yeah, right. You know, I was thinking about that. Did we not play that night?
We ended up not even playing poker. We were just drinking.
Yeah.
I just remember.
Yeah. So, and I remember being like, wow, like, and I even did it with my fiance. She's not a big drinker by any means and would never, ever opt for something straight.
Yeah.
She took a sip and she was like, it's really sweet. Like, it's really good.
Yeah.
And to me, still, I was shocked.
I was the same way. Like, so first of all, I'm not Dominican. That's very important.
Yeah.
I wasn't born drinking this. I'm from Chile. So basically what that means is that 99% of everything that I had growing up was pisco or wine. So that's all I drank. And I'm not a kind of guy that likes having a lot of shots. Like, I'm pretty mild when it comes to drinking. I like a mojito, a piña colada, rum and coke, Cuba Libre, a caipirinha. I like drinks that you can sit by the pool just chilling.
Yeah.
But I was in a resort in Punta Cana, and like I met some people at the pool that I was in, and they were kind of like forcing me, like, dude, we're all having Mamajuana shots. You gotta take it. And you don't want to be the one to say no, right? So I had a shot, and I was like, wow, this shit is good. And I never really enjoyed a shot that much before. Obviously, I had shots of Jaeger and Fireball, like we all did in college, right? But it was kind of like the last thing before we left the pregame, just to like, keep things going. But I never really enjoyed it. But this is like, wow, like I'll have another, and I'm actually drinking it because I like it. So it was a cool way to come across it. And then when my trip was done, I went to the bartender that was my my go-to, and I said, listen, I love these shots that you've been giving me all week. I want to buy a bottle. Where do they sell this stuff? And he gives me a bag of sticks, and I said, oh, maybe he didn't understand me. He thinks I'm buying like weed from him.
Yeah.
I said, no, the booze. Like, where can I buy the booze? He goes, yeah, this is it. Like, buy some rum, throw these sticks in, wait a couple of months. That's it. I said, wait a second. You're telling me millions of American tourists are drinking this stuff every year and nobody's selling it? I said, whoever does this is going to be a millionaire. And that's why I started the brand. And it's crazy to think about now, because now there's a bunch of brands that are doing it, and now Candela, like we're in all the big hotels. Like now, I think tourists that go to Punta Cana now, it's very likely that if they try Mamajuana, it's gonna be Candela. But not when I tried it. It was really it was a really obscure, like, weird thing that we were having.
That's awesome. And I feel like, I think I've had over 100 interviews now, and like most of the time the brands that are really successful and stay successful have a good origin story like that. Like a oh shit moment of like, this was delicious, and you're telling me that you're hand making this in the back and serving it to me at a nice resort. Somebody's missing a big miss here. And so I'm curious, like, you go from, all right, great idea, somebody's going to be a millionaire, it's going to be me. And what does it look like to start a liquor brand from the ground up? I mean, like, what does day 1 to day 90 look like?
Messy.
Yeah.
Okay. I always say the road from A to Z has a bunch of letters in between, because it's never a straight line. It's first of all, I'm living this dreamland in Punta Cana, right? I'm tanned, I'm looking good, I'm meeting a bunch of girls, I'm drinking Mamajuana every day. Yeah. I'm having a great time. But then I go back and I'm in Chile. And Chile, don't get me wrong, Chile is a great country, beautiful, highly recommend people visit, but it's not the Caribbean, you know what I mean? So I had to go back and then figure out how to make this stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was literally me like looking up like rum producers in the Dominican Republic, like on Google, going on Skype, buying a bunch of Skype credits to start calling them up in the Dominican Republic and saying like, hey, I need you to produce this for me. And it was like, people thought that I was nuts. And that's how I found one like small, like mom and pop type of company that they were able to make, the first samples of Candela. They literally FedExed me a case. I couldn't say much because I didn't have that much money, to do a lot of FedEx deliveries, because you send a case of liquor on FedEx, it's gonna be like $500.
Yeah.
So I can't test like 30 formulas, right?
Yeah.
So, they send me the first formula. I'm like, all right, it's good.
It's good.
And then, he sent it in these ugly ass like square bottles. And he made me like a makeshift sticker and, as a label. And I said, like, all right, like that's it.
That's what we're doing.
So that was the MVP. That was the like prototype version of Candela. And I saw photos of like those square bottles, but that's just because that's the one that they send the samples in. So what happened is I'm like, okay, I have my samples, and I have a buddy of mine that organized these massive college parties in Chile. The guy had like a monopoly on college parties. Like he would have thousands of college kids every single weekend on these like cabins in the like on the beach, open bar, and it was a fucking good time.
Yeah.
So I go to him and I say, listen, I'm bringing this product in just to test. Please don't buy any tequila or Jaeger this weekend. I just want to see if like people like this. And from a scientific, like the scientific method. Do you remember the scientific method from high school?
Yeah.
It was like the perfect experiment, because you go to an open bar and everything's free. So there's no price discrimination. These are not like fancy bars. These are college bars. So there's no like, you can't see the back bar. You can't see the labels. It's just like kids show up and they order something.
Yeah.
Right.
It's whatever's available.
So it was the perfect test. And I send him the case. And then the next weekend he's like, listen, like, this is good. Send me another case. And I'm like, I can't yet. I'm importing a little bit more. And then I imported like a test batch, which now that I think about it, was actually a lot. It was like 250 cases. It's half a container.
Wow.
Because that's the minimum that they could produce.
It's not a small test.
Yeah. No, it was a pretty big test. So I had that container there. And then he's like, you know what? Send me another case. So I sent him another case. And then the next weekend goes, he said, you know what? Send me 5 cases. The next weekend he says, send me 10 cases. And then he goes, how many do you have in stock? And I said, well, like 220. And he goes, all right, I'll take all 220. I was like, what? He goes, yeah. Like, people are loving this shit way more than the tequila that we have, which probably, to be fair, probably wasn't a fancy tequila. It was probably shit tequila, but still, like, the college kids, like, they liked our Mamajuana more, even though they didn't know what they were drinking, but, they liked it. And I said, you know what? If you can get Chileans to stop drinking pisco and drink hundreds of cases of this, it means that it's good.
Yeah, right?
So that's when I knew we had something.
Wow, that is awesome. Yeah. Like, that is such a good story. And
so shout out to my friend Juanco for letting me test this shit in his
Right?
place.
I mean, like, without that outlet for you to push them, like, where do you think I'm sure you'd still have been successful and figured it out, but what a fantastic way to test it out and get real customer feedback.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, yeah, it's just like, I think when things are meant to be, the stars align and things start to work the right way. And I'm a big advocate for, like, a lot of people early on are shy to spend and shy to invest and, like, go all in.
Yeah.
Like, somebody like yourself buying 225 cases, 250 cases, like, that's pretty wild on the second round there.
Yeah.
But
my mom loaned me, like, she invested the money.
Okay.
She was the first investor in Candela. Because I had no money to bring this container.
That's what that was my follow-up. I was like, how do you afford to...
No, dude, I had just, like, crashed and burned. I had a startup right before that was crushing it. And then it all went to shit. We ran out of money. So I was starting to make some money in the market. I had some investments. But I didn't have enough to start a liquor company, right? So yeah, my mom was the first investor in Candela. To this day, she's involved. She's a big part of it. But she was the first. Like, that's how we brought the first container in.
That's awesome.
But it was there is something to say, because nowadays the cost of starting a business is so low.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to start a tech business. You can have a fully functioning e-commerce website for less than $1,000. In 2 days, you can have it up and running, full domain, 3PL plugged, like everything, right? And there is something to the businesses that have higher barriers to entry, where the entrepreneur just makes a big investment up front and then they just gotta figure shit out, there is some value in that. And I was looking at the Giovanni story. You know, the guy was an immigrant from Turkey, I think. He comes to New York. He barely has any money, but I don't know if you remember when we were little, like the yogurt. It
was just like, Go-Gurts and like...
It was all like really sweet, artificial flavors, artificial colors, very like no protein in it.
Yeah.
So he came to the States and he's like, no, I want yogurt like we have in Turkey and in Greece and, you know, like Mediterranean.
Yeah, like good Greek yogurt.
Exactly.
High in protein, great
So the guy,
food.
he didn't do an MVP with a co-packer no. He bought a fucking yogurt factory. He went to upstate New York and he bought an entire like factory that was from, I don't know, like, I don't know if it was Danone or Nestle. It was like a proper factory. He just bought it with an SBA loan. He hired like 50 people and then, you know, like you got to make it work at that point. Like you can't.
No, at that point you're all in.
Yeah.
But I do think like the world rewards like people like that go all in with good intentions and really are determined to figure things out.
You got to burn the ships.
Exactly.
And I think it's great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great. All the new technology that basically lowers the barriers to entry to anybody can become an entrepreneur these days, no matter what your background is. That's amazing. But I think it is important to teach entrepreneurs, like young entrepreneurs that are just starting, that at some point you do have to burn the ships.
Yeah.
You got to commit. Like you got to go all in if you really want it to be something big. It doesn't have to be out of nowhere, you know. You could do some tests here and there, but at some point you got to bring in the container, you know.
Yeah. And I suffer from that myself. Like it's hard to rip the Band-Aid off and say, all right, like I'm committing to this. I'm going to spend 5, 10, 15, 20 grand this month to get something off the ground, to get an idea going. And it's tough, like especially early on. It's like, oh, what if I fail? But then once you fail for the first time and you get back up, it's like, oh, that actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And now you build that tolerance to go. I'm
still alive. My friends still answer my calls. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it's true. You got to burn the boats, man. You got to send it. You got to go all in, and obviously you better have a good idea. Don't just go all in on something stupid. But
I'll tell you a funny story of how I fucked up. Like,
okay,
totally,
let's hear it.
In that regard. So Candela's already selling. We got a couple of accounts in the United States. We're in Total Wine. Like the product's moving. And I say, you know what? Until now, we've only exported Candela. I want to sell this inside the Dominican Republic, which is a whole different process than just exporting.
Yeah.
So I literally tell this to my wife. My wife, by the way, she's the biggest support that any, like, if you're an entrepreneur, you need somebody to support you. Like my wife is like a 10 out of 10. Like mad flowers to her. I just want to say it publicly. Yeah. She's been such a good support for me. Because I'm kind of nuts. I said, listen, like, I need to start selling this in the DR. Like, we're moving there. She's like, all right, let's go. So we literally, like, our lease was, you know, up in, I don't know, like a couple of months. We packed everything up. We put it in storage. We packed our bags. We literally just went to Punta Cana. We rented out, you know, an apartment. And that's it. You know, that's how we started the company to start selling down there. So we were in Punta Cana. And I'm trying to figure out the whole value chain, the taxes, like how we're going to price our product, everything. And I relied on some experts that basically they screwed up the entire value chain for me. Supposedly, to sell my product in the Dominican Republic, there was going to be like $1.50 in taxes in every bottle. The reality was that once I had already moved my entire family to the Dominican Republic, we were going to have to spend about $4 per bottle just on taxes. So it was more than triple what I had budgeted.
Wow.
And I'm like, shit, I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah.
And I still remember the day that I came back from the tax office. Because I would have to go to all these government buildings. Nobody answers your emails. No. Like, nobody's answering the phone. So I would physically go to the customs office. I would go to the IRS, the Dominican IRS. I would bug them until they're like, fine. And I would sit at their desk, open up my computer with my Excel sheet. I need to figure out how this works.
Yeah.
So the day that I realized that this wasn't going to work, I drove back to Punta Cana from Santo Domingo. I was racing. Like I was going way faster than I should have. And I got home and I told my wife, like, I fucked up. Like we moved here. This isn't gonna work. There's gonna be zero margin in this product, zero. Because sorry, I also knew at what price the hotels were willing to
buy it at. Yeah.
Because they're all inclusive hotels. They're not gonna spend a lot of money. So I'm like, we're screwed. We're gonna go back to Miami. Like that's it. And my wife looks at me and she said, no, you always figure shit out. You gotta figure shit out. Like don't beat yourself down. Like just open your computer. Like you'll think of something. And I said, you know what? Yeah, like I'm not gonna spend a minute complaining. I gotta figure this shit out. So I immediately like reframed the situation. I said, okay, how can I turn this into an opportunity? Like what's the opportunity? And I opened up my laptop and I was literally like, there was no sense that I could squeeze in those freaking Excel sheets. Like I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And then I said, wait a second. If we create our own importing and distributing company, then we don't have to pay a distributor margin, and then that's our margin. I said, do I want to start it? Like, can we do this? I started figuring out. I said, okay, that's how it's gonna be. Because in the United States, you can't do it. In the United States, liquor brands can't self-distribute their product because there are liquor laws that prevent you from doing that. Okay. You have to go through a distributor. The Dominican Republic, that doesn't exist. So I said, you know what? We'll create our own distributing company. Fast forward, now that's a separate business. Now we're representing a bunch of brands in the Dominican Republic, like great, like tier A brands, you know, world recognized brands, just because I had to start that company because I had fucked up on the taxes.
Oh my God.
So it's like, you know, I always say that whenever something bad happens, I'm like, how is this an opportunity? How is this an opportunity? How is this an opportunity? So I never label anything bad anymore. Things aren't bad or good per se. There's nothing that's good or bad per se. It's all the meaning that you give it. It's all how you reframe it. It's all how you take advantage of it. So that's a big lesson that I learned along the way of how I screwed up. And yeah, I had burned the boats. You know, I didn't have a house in Miami anymore.
Another perfect example of like, if you didn't send it and move over there and you figured out that problem while you were still here, you would have just chalked it up to like, all right, I'm not selling in the Dominican. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Being there, it's like, no, it kind of has to work. Like I'm here.
Yeah.
It needs to work. And then look, it created this whole other business that could be a multi-million-dollar business in the future and keep growing and growing and growing, all because you burn the boats.
Exactly. So that was it turned out for the best, and also just being in the market, like it's different. You know, I'm going there, you know, pitching the product into all these hotels, like slinging cases of booze everywhere. And yeah, like we got the product in like all the big hotels, like all the good ones. Mm-hmm. We got it in, and it wouldn't have happened if I wasn't there physically.
That is awesome. And something that I'm thinking about is like, obviously you're not Dominican, you're not from the DR. This is something that is part of their culture and that they built. Was there a little bit of pushback from like you not being local and trying to build this brand off the back of the island and everything like that?
I thought there would be, and it's been the total opposite. You know why? First of all, I love Dominicans. Dominicans are the shit. You go to the DR, they're the coolest. You know, they have the best personality. They're always smiling. They're always happy. They're bon vivants. Like, they're enjoying. Like, they pull out... You go to a colmado, which is like a bodega. That's what they call them there. They pull out these plastic presidente chairs, couple of speakers. That's the party. Like, they just have such a cool vibe. And Dominicans are the people that are the most proud of their culture than any other country that I know. It's crazy. Like, you grab anything that's Dominican and make it better, like they're going to be so proud of it that what happened is, so I thought that I said, I'm not Dominican. I kind of had like imposter syndrome when I was starting this. I said, I don't know what they're going to think, if it's authentic, if it's this, if it's that. Dude, I started doing Mamajuana the proper way, like elevated, you know, with better ingredients, better manufacturing processes. And they loved it. They loved it because I took something that was very typical to their culture and just enhanced it and made it way better and put it on the world stage. So it was, they were very happy to see that. And
that's awesome.
It was a good realization. But yeah, I totally thought that it would be the other way.
I thought it would be the other way too. They'd be like, what the hell? Like, that's amazing that they embraced it and like really wanted it to be successful. And I get it too. It's like, something about their culture that people would never know about is now hopefully going to be something that's at every bar in the United States and all these other countries.
And you gotta be respectful of the culture too, right? Like, this is a fully authentic product. The recipe is 100% authentic. All the ingredients are locally sourced from the DR. It's fully made in the Dominican Republic. Like, everything is as authentic as it can be.
Yeah.
So I'm a foreigner coming in, doing something respectful in a way that elevates their culture rather than bastardizes their culture.
Yeah.
And I think they see that, and they see that, I'm in it for the long run. It's not like I want to just like steal something and do it somewhere else. Like put ketchup on sushi rolls. Like, that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been cool to see how excited they are about it.
That's awesome.
And like I've had, I want to give another shout out. Like we've had so many people that have gravitated towards the brand from the beginning without me paying them or offering them anything in return, just because they love the brand. And I'll give you an example of somebody from the DR. There was this kid. He reached out. He's a rapper. He's a Dominican artist. Lives in Canada, but he's a Dominican. This guy's dropping like really, really fire beats, but he lives in Canada, so
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
His name's Capo Curtis. Check him out.
Capo Curtis?
Capo Curtis.
Capo Curtis, okay.
I love this guy, and I'll tell you why I love him. He reaches out humbly and says, "Look, I love Candela. Can we do something together? I don't want to get paid. I just want a couple of bottles for my music video." So I said, "Sure." I sent him a couple of bottles for his music video. He drops a really dope music video, and it's all about him and the product. It's not like a second.
Yeah.
It's like him holding the bottle the entire video, and I'm like, this guy's great. And then I listen to the song, and the song's fire. I'm like, wow, like this kid's good. So we build a relationship, and we're still friends to this day. This happened in the very early days of Candela, and he's been supporting the brand since day one, and I haven't paid him a cent. It's just because he loves the brand and I love him. Like, I just love this guy. It's one of those people that, you just like love their soul. Like, he's just a great guy. And yeah, like we've been friends for years now. And that's an example of somebody that's like a Dominican that saw this and they're proud of it. He wants to put it in his music video. And examples like that, like there's been a bunch.
That's awesome. And it was my follow-up question. You shared a cool story about how you got an investor, like a cool, notable investor for the brand.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to share that story because I think it's awesome.
Yeah, so...
Especially for my Miami people that follow the podcast.
He's a little bit bigger than Capo Curtis.
just a little bit.
Just sold a couple more records.
Yeah.
That was one of those moments, like fork in the road moments. Okay, so picture this. Peak COVID, okay? Do you see yourself? You're locked up in your house, nobody out in the streets, everything's closed. There were literally a couple of months where I think we sold 0 bottles. 0. Can you imagine? Like, we were like, doing cases and cases and cases, and then March 2020, it's like 2 bottles. April, 0 bottles. I'm like, we're screwed. We're going to go bankrupt. Like, that's it. And then I get a phone call. Hey, so I work with Pitbull. He loves your brand, Candela. He thinks it's great. Are you willing to come and meet him on his yacht? And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. Like, I wonder, probably like one of my friends, like they're fucking around with me. Like a prank call. Yeah. That's what I thought. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, where is it? And they're like, yeah, it's here tomorrow, 3 p.m. in Miami, whatever. And I'm like, I hang up and I tell my wife, I'm like, somebody called me and says that Pitbull loves Candela and he wants me to go to his yacht. I'm like, this has to be it's bullshit, right? It's like, and I'm trying to say like, which one of my friends did it? I'm trying to figure out like, oh, was it him or was it him? And she's like, all right, like you gotta go. So I go there the next day. And I pull up to the Marina, and I'm like, it's gonna be the luckiest day of my life, or I'm gonna be a total sucker for buying this prank, right? Yeah. So I go to the Marina, and I'm like, hi, I'm here for Pitbull's yacht, and they're like, burn, the door buzzes, and they open the door to the Marina. I'm like, okay. So I start walking, And they're like, it's the one right at the end, like the big one. I'm like, okay. So I keep walking, and I'm like, wait a second. And then I start getting like a little nervous. I'm like, wait, I think this is actually real.
Things are about to happen.
So I'm like walking, and then I see this massive yacht. And I'm like, all right. I go on board. The doors open. And inside is Mr. Worldwide himself. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is like Tuesday afternoon, peak COVID. I was literally like groping about, just griping about, sorry, I said griping about not selling a single bottle the previous day. And all of a sudden, Mr. 305 is right in front of me. And the nice looking young lady dressed with like all the yacht's branding comes up with a glass, of Candela shots, a tray full of Candela shots for us to take shots. And he's like, hey, nice to meet you, man. I love your stuff. And we're like doing shots of Candela. Then he sits down, he puts up his sleeves, opens up his notebook, and is like, all right, Capo, I love what you're doing. How can I help you? And I'm like, what? I'm like pinching myself. Like, what the fuck is going on?
What's happening?
I had no idea what was going on. And yeah, that was the first meeting. He was super engaged, like whip smart. He's so freaking smart. Like you think, he's smart because he's like a good businessman and all these things.
Yeah.
Like, no, but he's actually like very, very smart. He gets it. And he's like, listen, we'll figure out the how, we'll figure out the details, but I want to be part of this. And that was it. Shook hands, big hug. Thank you so much for hosting me. And I go home and I'm like telling my wife, like, I don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
So we literally drink an entire bottle of Candela at home. We're blasting Pitbull on our speakers at home. We're like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh my God.
Like that was it. And then yeah, like we figured out a deal and now he's an investor in the brand. And not only is he an investor in the brand, he's been instrumental in a lot of ways. He's made some really valuable introductions to us. But then most importantly, we just went through a really difficult time a little over a year ago, where one of our other investors, they kind of turned their back on us and they left us with a very short runway. And I thought that was the end. I said, you know what? I think this is it. I think we're going to have to close up shop. And he came up and said, you know what? No, I'll invest. And he was the one that saved the company. And I want to make this a public statement because Candela would not be alive today if Pitbull hadn't made the investment that he did when he did. We would have ran out of money. And I am just eternally grateful to him. Even if he doesn't have even if he becomes a Buddhist monk and he doesn't have a shot of Candela anymore, doesn't put a cent more in the brand, I am eternally grateful to him because the company wouldn't be alive if it wasn't without him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That might be the thumbnail, how Pitbull saved his brand. that might be the clickbait.
And it's totally true. I mean,
yeah.
it's I can't overstate how important he's been to the brand.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, what a unique journey from end to end for you. So you, in Punta Cana, see something that's underappreciated and not mass-produced, send it, prove the brand out by shipping it to college parties in Chile, figure that out. It starts going well. You're like, I'm going to expand to the DR, move to the DR, almost fail again, build another successful company off of that almost failure.
Yeah.
Come back here, brand almost fails again because of COVID, something you can't control. And Pitbull, out of all people in Miami, come in and save the brand. Like, you would think that the story is not true, listening to it all the way through.
Yeah. It's like, that's why when I say the road from A to Z is full of letters, it's hard to believe all the things that happen along the way. Like if this was a book, there's so many chapters and each chapter is just full of color. And I don't know, you believe in manifesting? I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
You had a great book over there about manifesting. When I started the brand, when I still was in Chile, we had probably sold 2 cases, right? Still, it was just an idea. And I love manifesting the end of things when you start things. So I made a news article, a press release. Mm-hmm. Of when something big happened to the brand. So I wrote this big article when we sold the brand and all these things, and And I wrote it and I put it in my drawer, in my nightstand. Then I looked at it, and Pitbull was already an investor, okay? And then I opened up my drawer one day and I saw this piece of paper and I'd forgotten about it. And I opened it up and I started reading it, and I had written, it was in the paper, Pitbull will invest in your brand. I said Pitbull and Daddy Yankee, I put both of them. Because I imagined like something like the leading Latin artist being part of this super Latin brand. That was my vision. And I had wrote it at the beginning that Pitbull would invest in the brand. And I was like, and I started getting chills, and I'm like, I can't believe this. And then we were on his yacht for another party that we did. And we were standing up, like just doing like a toast because we were celebrating something that had happened. And I said, Armando, you know what? I wrote this piece of paper when I started the brand, and I knew that you would invest from the moment that I started the brand. It was all written down. And I told him about this, and he goes, damn, Papa, that's some powerful shit. He opens up the bottle and starts drinking from the bottle.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. He starts drinking from the bottle, and I'm like, this is insane. This is incredible. And it's like, you work for moments like that. You know, like those are the moments that make, because being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is hard. You know, It's so fucking hard. It's a grind. But those are the moments that make it worth it.
I mean, that's so amazing. Like on so many levels, especially being someone from Miami like myself, born and raised. Like
you know what he means to us, like that we live here, right?
God.
He's like,
I mean, come on, you didn't grow up in Miami and not listen to his music nonstop as a kid and growing up, and just the fact that you like it all turned and like came to fruition like that is unreal. Like literally, it sounds fake. Like the whole thing, it's insane. And now, like, you're continuing to grow it, build the brand, and where is Candela at now? And how many stores are you in? How big is it getting? What are, like, the future plans? Where's that?
Candela, we're going through the biggest transformation since the start of the company. We went through this process where we rethought the entire brand ethos, the entire DNA of the brand. We hired an agency that, in my opinion, is probably, you know, what I think the best branding agency out there. They're called, also shout out, Quaker City Mercantile. They're the ones that did the Hendrix gin bottle. They did the Sailor Jerry bottle. They did the Milagros tequila bottle. They've done all these iconic bottles. So I reached out to Steve, you know, the founder of Quaker City. He's a branding legend. This guy. Steve Grass, like, look him up. He's a G. And I tell him about my product, my idea, my vision, and he's like, yeah, like, I'd love to take this on. So they're the ones that redesigned our whole brand and, you know, everything. Like, this is like their credit. Obviously, we worked very closely. Like, I shared the vision and everything, but they got it. So we're going through the biggest transformation now. We're about to launch this new bottle with all of their new branding, their brand world that they built for us. And like we have, you know, the brand is, we're still a smaller brand. We have, you know, hundreds of stores. We don't have thousands of stores. You know, probably like 700 or 800 stores at the moment that carry us, and in a few markets outside of Florida. But right now we're gonna restock all of these stores with a new bottle, and we're about to open. We have like 9 or 10 new markets lined up that we have signed distribution deals to start selling the new product in. We just need to fulfill the orders that I told you. We have hundreds and hundreds of cases that we need to fill.
Yeah.
So that's what's about to happen in the next few weeks.
I mean, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Like, and I love the bottle, by the way. I keep looking at it, and obviously, like, from the other bottle and to what it looks like now, like, it looks like
you like it?
$70+ bottle of premium liquor. Like, it looks beautiful. Like, it's...
I'm glad you like it, man. And it was a lot of work that went into this. A lot of, like, these agencies, they're not just like some designers that they do something pretty. Like, these guys spent months researching the whole culture and roots and the story, everything, all the backstory, and they came up with this crazy concept. They really like redefined our brand DNA. Like they distilled it to this like one key line that was like, yes, like that's it. So they did a fantastic job. Like big shout out to Quaker City Mercantile. I have so much respect for them. And it's not like there's an entire team that was working on this that they did a great job. And we were using like our old bottle. It's all right. I'm not gonna be not gonna be too harsh on it because it like
it's nice.
Customers like it. It's but it's not a bottle that you're gonna stop traffic to look at, right?
Yeah.
And because it's a generic glass, it's not our own glass. But the liquid that we're using for Candela, the liquid that we use is second to none. When it comes to rum, it really is like you would have a hard time finding a distillery that makes higher quality rum than the one that makes our rum. The quality of the ingredients that go into it, the process, the manufacturing process, the aging process, it really is second to none in the world. Like there are $100 rums out there that can't they don't shine a light next to like the quality of the liquid. So I said we have such good liquid, but the bottle like it's just generic. Yeah. Like we need to step it up. So that's why we redesigned the bottle.
It's very unique. Like even looking at the bottle now, like the shape and everything, it is unique in its own way. Not a traditional like vodka bottle. Like I'm thinking of like a Grey Goose, that just cylinder with a longer top. Yeah. It's not like a Scotch bottle that you would typically see. It's very interesting. And just curious, like for younger entrepreneurs listening, like working with that agency and offloading some of that work to somebody else, because obviously you're the founder, this was your idea, your baby. What was it like offloading some of that responsibility to somebody that's not you? And obviously you said you work closely with them, but what was that experience like?
Look, up until that point, I had done everything, okay?
Yeah.
I couldn't afford designers, so I hired like somebody on 99 Designs, and I kind of like told her like what I wanted it to look like, and that was the label that we used on Candela for years.
Yeah.
We got thousands and thousands of cases moved just with that label. And again, I'm not saying she didn't do a good job. She did a great job, but it wasn't like a proper like full design process.
Yeah.
So I never really hired like a pro agency to do it. And to be completely honest, I think I probably sucked as a client, because I'm exactly the type of client that these agencies don't want, where I'm like super on top of it. I'm giving them my opinions. I'm like, there were too many chefs in the kitchen. That's what it felt like. And I have to be honest with you, because you care so much about this that it's hard to say like, all right, you do your thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a new process for me. And that's why they were great at it, because they understood that the feedback that I gave them is not to criticize their work, but it's because like I actually cared so much about it.
Yeah.
And they were patient with me. Like they came back and, one revision on top of another revision on top of another revision, until they got to the point where I said like, yes, like this is fire. I'm obsessed. I need to see this now. And it took a long time to get there. It really did. But they were great to work with. They really did a good job, and you can tell when an agency knows what they're doing. They have their whole approach, they have their whole process and mentality, that they've produced a lot of home runs that are billion-dollar brands. Like they don't have one, they have multiple.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a recipe for that success, and it shows when you work with them.
That's awesome. Another thing that we were talking about before we jumped on camera today, which is like your newest a little project, something that caught my attention immediately. I saw it out there. I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
I want you to just share a little bit about, and it falls into that same category of the 3PL that you built. Like you needed it, you saw it as like something in the market, and you pounced on it. And it feels like you did it again on this third one. Talk a little bit more about that new little venture that you're going on.
So I came across this technology called EcoSpirits, okay? It's a company based out of Singapore. And what they do is they produce kegs for liquor. They're the leading company in the world that does kegs for liquor. It's not really a keg. It's called an eco-tote, but it's a reusable container for liquor brands. In Asia and Europe, it's very popular. You know, there are big brands that use it. Absolute Vodka, Smirnoff, you know, Remy, Cointreau. There's just a bunch of great brands that use it, but here in the Americas, they're not that popular. And I had a problem in the Dominican Republic. I had all these all-inclusive hotels that they were ordering, you know, industrial quantities of Candela, and then, you know, they'd order a pallet of Candela, and then a week later, that entire pallet of glass would just go to, you know, the trash. And I would be like, man, like, packaging, glass, labels, corks, and the shipping cardboard case, it's the most expensive thing in liquor. It's just as expensive as the liquid in most cases, if not more. And it's crazy to think about that you throw it away immediately, especially if it's a high volume bar that, you know, the bottle doesn't even last, you know, a couple of days.
Yeah.
So I said, there has to be something that we could do here so that we don't waste all this money. So I came across EcoSpirits, and I reached out, and I realized that they didn't have any presence in the Dominican Republic. So I said, hey, like, I'm interested in buying, like, the franchise of this for the Dominican Republic. So yeah, that's how it happened, and I ended up being the official, like, owner of the franchise for the EcoSpirit system in the Dominican Republic. So now when Smirnoff Vodka and Absolute Vodka and a bunch of other products, Bacardi, they start bottling this in reusable format, they have to go through this company, our company. And I also got the rights for EcoSpirits in Mexico too. So we're going to be the first and only people that are going to be bottling tequila in reusable format. So that's going to be huge. I mean, it's going to save tens of thousands of bottles every single month.
And what does it look like to negotiate a deal like that, to come across? Because you say it now, and it's like, man, like, why didn't somebody else think of that? But, like, for you, like, what did that look like?
I don't know, man. I got inspired by... I was thinking the other day, when you're in CPG, when you do consumer products, you go to the shelf. Let's say you go to Whole Foods. You look at the aisle. Let's say you look at the milk aisle. There's so many milks. So many alternative milks.
Yeah.
Almond milk, this milk. And then I thought to myself, I said, who's the biggest winner here? Like, what brand is, like, the biggest winner? You know who the biggest winner is? Do you know who it is?
No.
Tetra Pak.
Oh, the company making all the bottles.
Do you know that every single milk carton is made by the same company?
I did not know that.
Tetra Pak. So, like, wouldn't you like to own Tetra Pak rather than the milk brand? Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
It's like, yeah. So I always admired Tetra Pak as a company, because all around the world, it doesn't matter what country you go to any country, if you buy a carton of milk or like a juice, like the one that you put the little straw in, it's all made by Tetra Pak, the same company. It's a massive company, and it's just because they cornered the market on that type of packaging. Liquor has been always packaged in glass bottles for, you know, the last few decades. There has been zero innovation. There have been some people that have like a paper pulp wine bottle. There's been like bag-in-box, like all these different things.
Yeah.
But it's not something that if you go to a big hotel, like a big casino, like an arena, they're still using glass bottles and they throw all those away. EcoSpirits is the first company that came across with a solution that has a shot at actually replacing glass bottles. They were smart because what they did is that they really understood that you needed to partner up with the big volume brands in order to do it. And they have partnerships with Diageo, they have partnerships with Pernod Ricard, with Remy Cointreau, with Bacardi. So all of the big brands, like, they're already partnered with EcoSpirits.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, like, they're probably going to become the standard. And if they're the standard and you can own a market and have like the monopoly on that technology, it's going to have value someday. So that's why I thought of it. And yeah, man, I'm grateful that they took a chance on us. And yeah, we got it.
Just another example of you burning the boats.
Yeah.
Just doing it again. Like,
yeah, dude. And to be honest, I didn't even do that much analysis. I just said, look, sustainability is the future, right? Things are not going to get dirtier in the future.
No.
If they're going to go somewhere, they're probably going to get more sustainable.
Yeah.
All the big brands are doing it. So at some point, they're going to need a company that has a bottling plant that does this.
Yeah.
So yeah, and now we're going to be filling Smirnoff in the Dominican Republic. There's a bunch of other great brands that are going to be entering the market there, and we're going to be bottling it for them.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, just the way that you've been able to build something that you're really passionate about. You wanted to bring something to market, and then you've also identified in that market where there's areas for you to add on to the business, grow the business, be more successful. And you haven't missed a beat on those different areas, and you've taken advantage of them.
I've taken advantage of them, but look, it hasn't been all like an overnight success.
Yeah.
It takes time. It takes years for you to first negotiate these things and then get things running and then get mass adoption. It takes a long time, and I've been lucky. I have great people working on this. Another shout out, like the people that make Candela, Jose Enrique, Junior and Senior, Vero, it's a family. They are incredible at what they do. They're some of the best rum producers in the world. I mean, these people are very, very serious. Our master rum blender, his name's Willie. This guy's he's the Picasso of rum. Like he's known around the world, like in rum circles. I had no idea, but in rum circles, like he's known as one of the best like rum masters, and he's the one that makes our product. And I don't want to take credit for this because he's the one that made the recipe. I just tasted like 90 recipes and said like this one. But he's the one that made it. You know what I mean? So I'm lucky that I've been able to partner up with great people that have believed in the vision, that have put in that hard work, that know what they're doing, and that's how it's been something that has gone from idea to reality.
Such a good story, like all the way through. And as we get to the like tail end of our conversation, I don't even want to call it an interview, our conversation. I always like to ask guests, because majority of our audience is younger entrepreneurs. Like we talked about earlier, the cost of starting a business is so low. Entrepreneurship is very sexy right now, and everybody wants to be a founder and this and that, and that's awesome. But it's not easy.
No.
You've been successful now. What would you tell the 18-year-old you if you could go back and talk to him?
To the 18-year-old me?
18-year-old? No, the 18-year-old you.
No, okay.
Yeah, you.
Oof, that's a good one. What would I have said? I think I would have done a few things differently. I think I would have invested more in the brand from the beginning, rather than have tried to bootstrap it for so long and then upgrade the brand. And there's a recent example of that really caught my eye. I don't know if you saw the brand Poppy.
Oh yeah, I did.
It sold for I think $1.9 billion or $1.8 billion to PepsiCo.
Yeah, did pretty well.
Great soda, right? I don't know if you've tried it.
Yeah,
Great
it's good,
liquid.
it's good.
Great branding. It really pops out.
Yeah, they did really well.
Such a good brand name, Poppy.
They crushed it.
They killed it. I didn't even know this until I saw it on. I think the founder posted this on her Instagram. They were on Shark Tank. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they were on Shark Tank, and it was called Mother, and it was this. It wasn't ugly, but it was.
I think I do remember that brand though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like something that you buy at a farmer's market.
Yeah.
It was like a long bottle with like a apple cider looking.
Yeah.
And that was it. And you know that if you saw a bottle like that, it's something that you buy off a farmer's market, and maybe they sell like in their little town. Do a few $1,000s of sales. Like, that's it, right? So to go from that to Poppy, which is canned, great brand name. It has mass appeal. You can see that. Okay, you can find that at Publix. You can find it everywhere.
Yeah.
And the branding did so much for them, because I can guarantee if they would have kept the same bottle with Mother, with apple cider vinegar, like it wouldn't have worked. Celsius. You've seen like their current brand, they're crushing it. They're listed in the stock market. I love drinking Celsius, by the way. It's such a good energy drink. I saw their original bottle.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. But you can't believe, you cannot believe that that's how it started. It's insane. And then they made the upgrade. RX Bar. Peter's also an investor of Candela. Shout out to Peter.
Okay.
RX Bar. I don't know if you've seen their branding.
Yeah.
They're so freaking cool. It says, like 2 eggs, 3 dates,
Yeah.
no BS, right?
Yeah, no, they're awesome.
Yeah, like I personally, like as a consumer, the first time that I bought an RX Bar, I just bought it because of the packaging. Oh. Nothing else, right? You too?
Same situation.
Same, right? I saw on LinkedIn, I saw the first RX Bar branding.
Oh God.
You can't believe how ugly it is. Like you could go to like a second tier gym, and the store inside the gym where they sell like supplements, you wouldn't even have bought it. It was like it's horrible. Okay, and they upgraded the branding, and then $600 million acquisition, and I think it's one of the coolest looking protein bars the coolest looking protein bar in the market. So I think Peter, Celsius, Poppy, like they were very early to change their packaging into something that was really catchy. And in CPG, it all comes in through the eyes. It really does. My case, I think what I would have told the younger me when I had started this is you should actually like try to, that the liquid works. All right, you did your test, it works. I would have paused, raised a little bit of more money, and instead of bootstrap it all the way, I would have hired a better branding agency from the beginning that could have helped me get mass distribution faster. Instead of doing like a slower build, bootstrapped, that just, the cash burn when you do these things, it's so long, the grind, it's hard. So I think when it comes to CPG, I don't think it's like that for every type of business, but at least for consumer brands, I think having a solid brand story, having a top tier looking product with a look and feel of something that you really want to get off the shelf and just emotionally want to buy it, I think it's worth investing on those things right from the get-go. Right once you validate the idea.
That's awesome. That's great advice. And branding is everything now with how competitive things are. Like,
it really is.
You need to have top tier branding. It used to be like, if your product is good enough, you'll just power through. It's not really the case anymore.
Yeah, but that still is true. But think about it. If your product, you just said the key. If your product is good enough, and now I'm asking you, what is the product? Is the liquid the product? It's not.
Yeah.
It's the packaging, it's the liquid, and it's the story that it tells about you. All of consumer products, it's not the functionality of the product that's what people are buying. They're buying something that speaks about who they are. If you buy a Rolex, it says, oh, this person is X.
Yeah.
If you buy a Patek Philippe, it says, this person is Y. That's the product. It's not something that tells time. So that's a mistake that I made, which is thinking the liquid's great, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to go out and sell it. It's like, no. Because the liquid is not the product. The product is...
the perception.
What is the aspirational emotion that it makes the consumer feel that will make them want to pull out their wallet, buy it, and then tell their friends, like, I'm showing up to the pregame. Check
this is what
out.
I brought.
Oh, you've never heard of this? What does it say about me?
Yeah.
And that is the product that you need to be selling. So invest on a brand that tells that story. Not just says, oh, this is a great liquid. That's something that I think is worth doing straight from the beginning.
That's awesome. It's good insight too for people listening, like that are maybe in a position where they're trying to figure it out, or they have something and they're thinking about doubling down, tripling down. Like, put the chips on the table. Like, go get it. Go work hard. And I think your story's great.
I appreciate it. And don't get me wrong. I think the functionality, it has to be excellent.
Yeah.
That's a starting point. Think about aloe yoga. You see it everywhere, right?
Oh my God.
What does it say about you that you wear aloe yoga and not some Chinese knockoff of Amazon?
Yeah.
Same quality. It's not going to be better. Those shorts, they're not going to be any better than some great shorts that you can buy on Amazon for $20.
It just shows people that
it says who you are. But their product still needs to be great.
Yeah.
I have some Lululemon shirts that I've been wearing for 5 years. I can still wear them and they look perfect. I don't want to throw them away because the quality is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think if you're doing CPG nowadays, the quality of your product, the functional quality, has to be 10 out of 10. You can't get away with that shit. Because maybe you can have a cool package, but people will never come back and be a return purchase if the product isn't great. So that's the starting point. But that's just a starting point. It's not going to get you to be a brand that's going to have an emotional connection to the consumer. So I advise a lot of brands. There's a lot of brands that hire me to advise them on building their products, building their brands. And I always tell them, like, okay, we got the product out of the way, but what's the brand? What is it going to say? What's the DNA? Yeah. What's the hierarchy, the communication hierarchy? What is it? How are you going to connect to people? And that, I think, is the hardest part, but it's the most important part when you're building a brand.
Yeah, we have a new big CPG brand that's come out. Alex Earl dropped the tequila.
Yes.
And I looked at it. I thought the branding was great.
Yeah.
They're going hard on the real fruit juice,
Yeah.
like going hard at the other brands. Like, I was just like, this is a winner. Like, but
you know the product's gonna be a winner. The branding's great. It's called Margs, right?
Yeah,
Margs.
Or Sip Margs.
Sip Margs.
Yeah.
It's such a good name. Like, you can already see a bunch of girls at a pre-party. Let's have some Margs, right?
Yeah.
Alex Earl, she's dominating the social game. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's got a massive audience. I'm guessing, I've never tried it. I'm guessing the liquid's good.
They literally just launched it at Palm Tree Club this past weekend.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's available in stores yet.
Right.
But when you look it up, they go for real lime juice, real passion fruit juice, like trying to make it healthier. Yeah. And then that's why you're paying $4.50 a can per 12 pack or whatever it is. Something crazy, but
and look, RTD's very saturated market. But I think with a solid brand name, if the liquid's good, you'll be able to attract the first wave of early adopters. And then if the liquid's good and they have good distribution where you can get it at your regular store, there's no reason why it can't build a good audience of repeat purchasers that end up being, the people that make it $1 billion brand.
Yep.
So I think there are a lot of opportunities like that, but you just need to find your niche and why your brand sets itself apart. What's the unique selling proposition? How are you different from all the other brands that are out there?
I love it. For people that are still listening, watching us now, where can they go and find you to connect with you? Where are you active on social media? And if brands that are listening here want to reach out for consulting and different things, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So I would say drinkcandela.com, but it's sold out, so you won't be able to get it there yet. But you can look me up, Alejandro Russo on Google. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My Instagram's private.
Good.
But yeah, man, LinkedIn, and I can share my email so that you could drop it here on the show notes and people can reach out. I'm a little bit overbooked these days, but maybe if it's something exciting, we can talk about it. But yeah, I love working on exciting projects, helping people out that have cool products that they want to bring to the market, and if they have something special, I'm always happy to see if I can guide them the right way.
Yeah, if you have something badass, you can also message me. I'll look at it and I'll call them if it's really going to be badass.
100%. If anybody messages you and you send it to me, I'll definitely look at it.
All right, you guys heard that. You got to go through me here to get to the big boss. But dude, thank you so much. Like, for one, I know we tried to put this together a few times, and I'm really happy we were able to sit down and have this conversation. I absolutely love the new bottle, which I've said a bunch of times. Clearly, I love the product. And
we gotta get a refill.
And dude, this has been one of my favorite conversations. And for the people that watch a lot of my episodes, I do not say that at the end of every episode. But dude, I wish you the best. I think you're gonna continue to crush it. When the brand sells for $20 million, just don't forget about me. Let me go to the party or whatever it is. And
you're definitely invited to that party for
dude,
sure.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much for hosting me. It's been an honor.
Boom.